The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's start this conversation. Let's start this conversation. We got no relation.
Hello, everybody. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening live or watching live, thank you for your patience. You got to love live shows. And sometimes when the software changes, that's what happened. Anyways, you're listening live to UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. You can listen to the network on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast in the U.S. and Mississippi, and 107.7 FM out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana, where we are actually broadcasting out of. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and family. We really do have programming for everybody on this network. It's not all just high strangeness and UFO-y stuff. I think we're well up to over 30 live hosts on the network. So we stream multiple shows daily, 7 days a week. We're not streaming live. The archive server kicks into the last 25 plus years. This network has been around, believe it or not. And so we are actually streaming live 24 hours a day. Now, our website is getting revamped. I hear there will be a chat room, and I hear through the grapevine even a merch store, but you could still find us on www.uprntalkradio.com. Again, as I said, my name's Lorilei Potvin. I am a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor. I'm also a registered nurse, an animal communicator. I am well-versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler myself and studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years. I'm also extremely well-versed in the paranormal. I always say didn't go looking for it. It found me years ago. And we shared a little bit of our story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor, Season 4, Episode 9. Now, I don't want to forget to thank Carnation. They do sponsor all the live programming here on Mondays. It's known as Carnation Mondays here on the network. And Carnation is a global brand. So if you've got some of your favorites that you see wherever you're listening from, please consider supporting Carnation, because they support us and all the great shows that are on here, including right after the show in about just under 2 hours, you're going to see Dolly Saffron and Preston Dennett with The Light Gate. Also, don't want to forget that my very close friend and co-host on Thursdays, we have Beneath the Hollow Moon at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. It's actually 10 minutes after, so it's 7:10. We're going to be talking about Bradshaw Ranch this week. And don't forget to check out Carrie Lynn Shellhorn's own show here on UPRN on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. She has Spirit Switchboard. Got my little checklist here. So you guys, the network does have a TV, I guess a TV station, if you will, with Roku. So you can find us if you go to Roku and you go to the channel store and you type in UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop down list, and we're about the third or fourth one down. You're looking for UFO, paranormal, and United Public Radio. And that's how you can watch us on there. The only thing I will say, because most of our audience, believe it or not, is listening only, up to almost 80-85%, because this network does broadcast to every country in the world. But if you're listening and you want to join in the conversation, both the show and Beneath the Hollow Moon are very audience participative. You have to see us to join the conversation. So tonight we are not on TikTok, because TikTok has decided to penalize me another 5 days. So I guess we'll have to try next week instead. But so how you can watch if you're listening, you can go to a few places. I'll go through it quickly. You can go to facebook.com under Lorilei Potvin, my profile. Also, I'm on LinkedIn under the same name, my YouTube channel, which is the Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin. We are on the Angel Rock on Instagram. That's a weird noise in the background. Can you hear that, Sonya?
Well, I can hear like, I don't know, like
yes.
static.
Yeah, there's a weird noise, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know what that is. Believe me, we made sure our audio was working. I'll still continue rattling off these platforms for you. So on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Twitch, you can find us under UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio. We are also streaming on the owner of this network, Joe Montalto. He's a wonderful gentleman who has provided this network for us. And he has a couple of his own shows. He has UFO Undercover on Wednesday nights and News on the Flip Side Friday nights, and then the chat on Saturday nights. So we're streaming on his Rumble under Jojo Mon. We are also streaming to my guests' Facebook profile and YouTube channel. Before I read your bio, do you want to tell them how they can find that too, Sonya?
The easiest way is to go to sonyaroy.com, and then when they're there, to just decide which media they want. If they want podcast, YouTube, Facebook.
Okay. I'm going to read Sonia's bio. She's been on here numerous times. And again, thank you very much for all your patience, you guys. Sometimes this happens with live programming. So Sonya Roy is an extremely gifted bilingual Canadian medium, master holistic healer, including she is a Master Reiki Healer and Shamanic Practitioner, as well as an author of numerous incredible books. Sonya was previously an RCMP officer, for those that may not know what that is, across the pond. That is Royal Canadian Mounted Police Officer, and uses her life experiences and knowledges as well as exceptional abilities to help guide and teach others to help serve, to help people to empower them and recognize their divine self. And your latest book, I know you've got more in the works though, is Narcissism, 12 Steps to Successfully Heal and Flourish After Narcissistic Abuse. You can find all Sonia's books obviously on her website. It's streaming across the bottom too. No, it's not. It did not highlight. Good thing I checked that out, guys. Give me a sec. I changed it all and I didn't go. There, now you can find Sonia's website. Welcome, Sonia. I have no idea, you guys, what that noise is. That is
so. You know what? I'm alone in the house, so everybody left. I kicked everybody out, so it's dead quiet for me here. So I don't know what that's.
I get all kinds of weird stuff. Honestly, I don't think you and I have ever had it. I know Carrie Lynn and I have a file of EVPs that I've gotten.
I saw one of them. Yeah, someone had a cut of the video for you. So
yeah, that's usually Kevin that does that. Usually Kevin. So let's say hi to everybody before we
everybody's in the waiting room there.
Everybody's been patiently waiting. We got Patsy Foister. She says hi to me and hi to you. Z Sun Dragon, or I call him by his muggle name, Kevin. He's here. All my comments, let you guys know what was going on, that we were coming. We got Contessa Martin saying hello. And Fat Girl 84 is here. Welcome. Let's see. I'm going through. We got Astrolite Paranormal. Victoria, welcome. Victoria, you and I got to connect. I will get a hold of you, or if I don't, please message me. I met her through Carrie Lynn. She's had Victoria. She's a Canadian like ourselves, both of us, and does paranormal investigation and all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm booking into like almost Valentine's Day now. So, but that's okay. It'll be here before we know it. Did you say? Oh, I was going, I don't have my glasses on. And I was reading Z Sun Dragon's comment. He was saying hi to Astrolite Paranormal, but without my glasses, it looked like Alf, ALF. And if you're old enough, you'll recognize that was a series with that alien life form Alf.
I love that guy.
So do I. We got Julie Jean Bassett. I always give her a shout out, you guys. She's an incredible animal communicator and healer. She's worked with me with my animals. I've taken her beginner animal communication course, which I know she just ran this weekend that just passed. I know you're also working, Julie, on a course for animal chakras and healing. So please keep us updated about that. But you guys, if you're having problems with your animals and you're not sure why they're doing something, or you're tearing your hair out, I'm telling you, Julie is a godsend that way, as well as she can work with pets across the Rainbow Bridge. She's also a shamanic practitioner, and she's pretty good at that too. So I've had a session with her in the past. And so if you want to check her out, there's 2 places you can. JulieJeanBassett.com for all the animal communication, and Whitetail Shamanic Healing for the shamanic things. So let's see if we got everybody here. Sounds like Kevin's saying it sounds like old school TV station when off the static. I don't know what it is, you guys.
Yeah, it just sounds like static.
I unplugged it. Yeah, and as soon as you stop talking, as soon as we stop talking, it stops. So let's hope it's going to stop. That's very annoying for you guys, and I apologize. Everybody's saying, oh, I've got Kirby's 100. Hello. Oh, we got Mish joining us from the future. She's over in Australia. Probably still in bed, Mish. Got your coffee? She says, good day, because it's Tuesday morning over there. Oh, Mish says, that's where I got my sense of humor, was from Alf. And let's see, everybody's saying hi to one another. We'll just check Instagram. Oh, good. We're all caught up. So thank goodness we finally got on the air, Sonya.
Yeah, I know, right? I guess you could have just gone on the air, did all that, and I would have caught up to you eventually.
Yes, I was going to. Oh, Patsy, what did you type here? Sorry, she said Lorilei mentioned she was on Paranormal Survivor Season 4, Episode 9. Oh, it is on Roku. See, I didn't even know that. If you don't have that TV plug-in, you can still watch free online. Thanks, Patsy. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I think it's on Netflix, anywhere where there's episodes of it. And you guys will see somebody very familiar on there that I did not know at the time, because all they do is interview you. You don't get to speak to anybody else. You have no idea what they're going to do with the episode until you see it for the first time yourself. Like, I know it's on YouTube on a couple different channels, and they call in 2 professionals in the paranormal world to comment. And believe it or not, our own station manager and friend of mine now, Michelle DeRoche, commented on our episode, but we didn't know one another back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, small world. Oh, yeah, Mission contests are talking about coffee. They always talk about coffee, the 2 of them. So I'm never worried about having you on. I know you very well. You're a friend of mine. Plus, we are never at a shortage for what to talk about. And you mentioned something very interesting before we went live. And I thought, why don't we start there? You had mentioned talking about Bach flower remedies. And I don't even know, some people will know about them. I know Julie would know about them, Julie Jean Bassett. Do you want to tell people, like, because there's some people that don't even know anything. They're just tooling around on YouTube and happen to jump in and say, oh, this looks interesting. So what are they and what would we use them for? I know, but for the people that are listening.
Well, first of all, what I find very interesting, because sometimes in our line of work, people are like a little skeptic, right? They're like, that's a bunch of woo-woo. How do I know that it's going to be effective? How do I know this is going to work? And I like the Bach flowers because they were created by an actual doctor, Dr. Bach. Hence why it's called the Bach flower remedy. Now, this gentleman lived 70 years ago. He created the system. So he lived in England, and he lived in the big city. And he was diagnosed with cancer, and he was told that he was going to die in a few months. He got, don't quote me, but I think it's 9 or 10 years more or something, a long, long time beyond what he was told. But he moved out of London and started to spend more time in nature. And he wrote poems. And in the poems, he says, nature talks to me. I hear the trees whispering. I see the... I think that in his poems, he literally tells us, I was able to communicate with trees and flowers. And they told me that if I were to use their essence, they would help me feel better and heal. So he worked as a doctor, an immunologist, and an homeopathic doctor. So he tried quite a few different things. And he felt that everything in nature exists to help us. And we don't need to create anything because everything's already there. We just forgotten how to use these things. So then he went on to say that it's never meant to be complicated, which I totally agree. My grandmother taught me everything I know, and she always says, keep things simple. You don't need to complicate things. You can't make it stupid simple, but keep it as simple as it is, as possible. And so he wanted to create a system that everyone could have in their household and be able to use, and it wouldn't be dangerous, and it wouldn't be any overdose possibilities. Even if the kid grabs one of the bottles and pounds it back, nothing's gonna happen, right? And the remedy is composed of 38 different flowers. So you got 38 different flowers that are associated with specific emotions. Like, for example, you're afraid of clowns. Well, you would use the flower mimulus. However, if you're an overly anxious person and you don't have a particular fear, but everything makes you anxious, then you'd use a different flower, aspen, right? So the idea is to, with all these emotions, Dr. Bach said that's what makes us sick.
I agree.
And I obviously agree.
I do
And because the basic is we're made of energy, correct? So when we have strong emotions, we disturb these vibrations that compose us. And if these emotions tend to last, like anger, resentment, hatred, whatever, they eventually throw us off our vibrational path. So in the same way that crystal work, these Bach flower essence realign us with the correct frequency and allows us to restore our balance and return to health. So obviously it's nice if you can use the flower before you get super sick, but you can't say, okay, well, I have eczema, what kind of flower would I put or what would I use, right? Because that's not an emotion. So we have to dig a little further and say, well, before the eczema developed, what were you feeling? What happened in your life? And, so we need to explore the emotion of a person. And then we can select 6 to 7 of those remedies and we put them in a little bottle. Hang on, let me see. Do I have it somewhere? Yeah.
I've had many. I'm going to grab something while you're grabbing yours. I pull it out.
Okay, so right here is an example of these flowers. So I know the people listening to us and not seeing us on videos can't see this, but those are the basic 38 flowers come in individual bottles like this. So what we do is after we talk and we examine what emotion is really triggering you and what's preventing you from feeling balanced, then we mix all this in a dropper bottle, and it's super easy because you just put 4 drops 4 times a day. So you can have it in your morning coffee, in your orange juice, in your water bottle, and I have seen some amazing results.
So, okay, so I've used a lot of them when I used to see a homeopathic, naturopathic doctor years ago. And I'm so glad that you've explained that because believe it or not, nobody has ever explained that it works with the emotion. They've,
Really?
Well, no, the ones we went to, we used it with my son when he was alive, with the anxiety and the anger and the frustration and things, but never was it explained, excuse me, about how they worked, like on the emotions. They just say, oh, you got this issue. Yeah, you need a little of this. Even when I went for body talk, she also, like, this was when my kids were really, really little. So, and for some reason, I just remember the name. I know it's not a flower essence. The one thing I will credit that naturopathic doctor, though, when my son Justin was alive and he was younger, and he wasn't verbal in particular, he used to have a lot of problems. Like, he was never mean, but he'd get so frustrated and angry and he'd be into a rage. Like, they even were able to develop a 5-point reading scale with him. She came up with this remedy. Now, it's the ones that are little round balls with the sugar, right? I know they've got different plant essences as well in them. It was called tuberculinum. I had to order it.
Yeah.
I swear to God to you, my son could be at what he could say a 5, like can't even hear you, is in a rage, and I'd give him 1 or 2 of them, and the only way I can describe it. So the flower remedies, I noticed a few things, and they are very powerful. I agree, because I did use them over the years. But with the tuberculinum, it was like this balloon that was just about to pop. Within about 5 minutes, it was like the balloon with his emotions just deflated. He calmed down. There was no sedation. There was nothing, no side effects. It was the most incredible reaction I've ever seen a human being have to some of these remedies, right? Mm-hmm.
And well, that's the thing, right? So I've seen quite a few people, and the interesting thing is I'm finishing up my my training to be recognized by the actual Back Institute in London. So I will be recommended by them for people to come and see me. And one of the main aspects of our role and in following the philosophy of Dr. Back is to actually teach you how it works and actually encourage you to learn how to do it for yourself, to educate you on.
Never ran into anybody that told me that. Like, I am floored. I'm just going to share this quickly. So Mish in Australia said I used Bach flowers when I had vertigo many years ago. And then she said this: I had to look at a wall of photos of flowers, and it was what I was drawn to, basically, was what was given to her.
Wow. Okay. Not at all.
A lot of people, this is good to know, because a lot of people, I'm telling you from my personal experiences, Mish is telling you from hers. Like, I was never explained, and it makes perfect sense to me. That's just what I was grabbing. My book, it works with emotions, color, and the positive and negative, like with moving those stuck emotions that can result in dis-ease. So I think this was really, you, as always, I know how intuitive you are. This was a good topic to start with, because most people, as you can see, you got two here that I know Mitch is pretty intuitive and does, you know, certain things as well. And here we are. None of us have been explained the way you explained it. So please continue.
So the way you would run a session, basically, and these can be done online or long distance or in person. If it's long distance, I just mail your bottle afterwards. Mm-hmm. But it's a process that is done with and not told to. So we are there to explain to you, okay, well, if you're feeling anger, if it's just blatant anger, then there's holly you can take. But if you're angry because someone is ignoring you, then it's a completely different flower. So you can't automatically just pin a flower to an emotion, right? There's got to be a process that takes place where you discuss these things. So you can start with, I have been very stressed because this and this happened. Okay, but how do you feel? Being upset or being stressed can be so many things, right? So we need to have this conversation and examine the emotions. And then the next part, which I find is very valuable, because sometimes you could say, well, it could be this flower or that flower. Then you go into the benefits. What is the benefit? Are you trying to have a peace of mind, or are you trying to be able to communicate better because you're angry because they're not listening, right? So that's how we determine the flower. So picking a flower that costs you on a wall, not part of how we are trained by the original system.
So as you can see, then, what I'm guessing, with no disrespect to anybody, because there were some times I paid a fortune for some of these bottle remedies and they didn't work. But some, like I say, and again, although it wasn't Bach flower remedies, we did try it. I know Rescue Remedy works. I've used that with my son. I've used it with my pets in the past.
A lot of people know the Rescue Remedy because that's the one that's for sale mostly everywhere. Mm-hmm. But the advantages of meeting with someone who actually has been trained properly is that you get a remedy specific to you in your situation.
That's what I was just going to say. It sounds like a lot of people are dabbling, if you will, because to me, this is the first time I've heard this. Like, and I believe that emotions can cause disease. I believe in homeopathic and naturopathic remedies. And I come from the big pharma background, and still, because to me, you know, humanity has existed for how many thousands of years. I also agree and really resonate with the fact that you said nature gives us everything that we need. And I've even seen, depending on where people live geographically, you know, you run into illnesses that can sort of be specific to that area. And there's usually I'm not going to say usually, there's always a natural remedy that grows perfectly in that area.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Mish is saying I use them as a gummy, and I actually have an example of the gummies.
I've never seen gummies. That's cool.
Yeah, but those are all of those things are all the rescue remedy. So the rescue remedy is for emergency, for traumatic event, for, you know, so it's good, but it's also nice to have something specific for you. Like there's also some flowers that help personality wise. Like if you're, I think we all know one of these. You know, they talk incessantly and they talk over you and they keep interrupting you and
So
you're
can we
like,
slip some of that into their drink?
okay, so there's another good thing. You can't put something in
I
someone
know.
else's.
I was joking.
No, but you know what? I've had that question. Could I put this in my boyfriend's drink? Right, because he's angry or he right.
Yes,
So because it's not drugs, so it's not like we would drug them, but there's a part of the consciousness of the flower that they refuse to be used unless it's in accordance to divine will. So the person taking the flowers has to be aware they're taking them and has to agree to take them. So if you'd like to slip, let's say your mom is a little bit forlorn and depressed and you'd like to boost her mood, you're full of good intention, still wouldn't work. They need to know how, what's happening to them. And it's very interesting. Just
Yeah, but
as
it's the same thing when, like, you'll get people coming for a reading or a session, and I don't want to know all the information. The least I know, the better. I know you work that way. Most of us do. But then, I've had people come to me and say, well, I want to know what's going on with my daughter, and I want to know this, and I want to, and it's like, could I go into her energy field? Yes. Would I? No. Because first of all, to me, that's like walking up to a door and breaking in and helping myself. And I think that's with anything that we do. You can't force something upon another person, right? It should be all based on free will and that they're consenting and they know what's happening. Because like you did mention something really important. There's no side effects, right?
That's right. So even if, and I mean, you just need 4 drops, right? But it's diluted because when I mix the remedy, it's not this whole bottle, right? It's a part of this that goes into a bigger bottle. So, but even if I were to drink this up straight, it's still not, it's a waste because they're not cheap, right? It'd be a waste because all you need is a few drops. You don't need the whole bottle. But other than that, it's safe for pregnant women, for children, for elderly. And some of them have very interesting, they can still help physically. Because the reason why you're having physical issues is because it started off with emotion. So it's a pop can. You can open it, but once it's open,
let's just read that for the people listening. So Mish is asking, is your tin, which Sonya just showed, if you're listening, for the rescue remedy, she says, is your tin a pop open tin? And Mish is adding, it took me ages to work out how to open it.
But once it's open, it doesn't really close back. Or at least I'm not pushing it all the way down because it is hard to open. But yeah, so as you can see, it's near me, and that would be my first go-to.
Okay. Go ahead. I was just going to stop you for just one sec. Sorry. Patsy Foister saying you must have psychic integrity, right, Lorilei? I guess integrity, but I think it's just sort of the law of the universe. Even as a nurse, I'm never going to force something on somebody without their consent. And I think it just has to go with empathy and compassion, as well as maybe integrity, not even psychic integrity, but integrity and, do unto others as you'd want done to you. And I know I would not want somebody doing that to me. So have you got anything to add to that, Sonya? Because I think that's important.
Well, I don't know about the psychic integrity, but definitely when I'm teaching any of the stuff that I do to people, I talk to them about ethics, right?
Yeah,
there's ethics. You don't need to be having a huge organization behind you to tell you how to act. You should have a certain you should have certain rule that you need to respect and others and the way they're progressing, and also not pushing what you think is best on them. Right, so they need to be part of the process, and
that is a way of integrity. Not so much maybe psychic integrity, but integrity, ethics, things like that, right? And again, I think what we're not taught though is that as much, because a lot of people come from a good place, right? Like maybe they see someone they love really struggling and they think, well, I can just do this, it'll help them, but not recognizing that we're all here for a different purpose and we all go through what we go through it's an individual journey. Now you can have people around you, but again, you can't force your will or beliefs, even if you think you're coming from a good place, is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So the idea is that also maybe, let's take an example. My mother died. I almost felt relief, right? Because she couldn't eat, she couldn't talk, she was almost a zombie, right? I felt like she was in pain, but the doctor tells me, well, she's not in pain. I'm like, no, but she's drugged up, so she can't be feeling great, right? So it's almost a relief at that point when they can't get better and they're just, it's time for it to stop, right? And I remember saying, well, universe, if you're not going to make her better, then take her now, right? So, but for some other person will lose their mother and they'll feel very differently. So with the back flowers working off of emotion, I can't assume that everybody will feel the same way I did, even though the situation is the same.
Yeah.
That 15 different people could lose their mom, but they have 15 different emotions. Some of them might be angry because, I don't know, she left them in death and left them scrambling, right? So if it's a child that lose their mom, well, they're not they're thinking about themselves. They might be scared. They might be, right? So, and that's why I think that's another reason why the back flowers wouldn't really work unless we can actually explore that. And the exploration is part of the healing. It's part of making you understand, okay, you have these feelings. For how long have you had these feelings? What can we do to change these feelings? So the back flowers assist you in overcoming the imbalance, but then it allows you to step into action and fix the environment that you're in that's causing these negative emotions.
Plus, I think a lot of people, I love that you said, the exploration's a big piece of this, because a lot of people may not recognize what the root issue is. And I love that, like you used eczema, for example, which is a physical problem. But when you start getting down to the roots of it, and again, that's why I love this book too. It can help getting into, like, I love what you said, what happened before you had the eczema, but also getting into the emotion behind what is a big one for me is fear. Because a lot of people that are very angry, for example, right? And when you really get down to the root of it, I'm not going to say all the time, but there can be many times where it really is fear, but it's exploring what the fear is of that's causing the anger, right?
Exactly. And even though you may have similar situation, like I said, you'll react differently. So I firmly believe that beyond the anger, below the anger, is always where you were hurt. But you can be hurt in so many ways. Again, I can't assume that it's the same thing for everybody, right? So yeah.
Hi, Heidi. I hear you.
So and it's a simple system. So once you can understand how this works, you could by yourself start doing this for yourself. The only thing is that if you're just doing it for yourself, the whole kit kind of costs about $700-800 to get, all the flowers, the whole kit, the 38 flowers.
I could see that.
So sometimes it's worth reaching out to someone who actually can do the mixes for you, and it's and then you see if you're really sold on it, then, or you can start buying.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you can start buying them as you need them, right? So you don't have to.
Oh, sorry. What I was just going to say, now it makes so much sense why a lot of times I didn't really feel any difference or why it didn't work when, like, this was years before me doing this type of work. I understand now exactly why. Because I never got down to the root of what the emotion was. I just dealt with the physical problem, thinking exactly kind of what you just said. Just because somebody say, like, I've a chronic pain sufferer, right? And it's a back injury. So instead of thinking, well, everybody with a bad back, this is what we normally use, you're talking about getting to the root of what the issue is and the emotions behind it. And I think that's what would make it much more effective.
And there's some companies out there that are using the idea of the remedies, but they're adding flowers to the system. So they're no longer, right? I don't know where they get these essence. I don't know. I don't know, right? So if the back flower system works, but you got to stick to the system, right? But it's the same thing as there's some remedies online you can buy for sleeping. And I looked at the ingredients because I was kind of curious. So, and I was like, but that wouldn't necessarily work. And that, I think, makes people think the system doesn't work properly. But why are you not sleeping at night? Are you not sleeping because you're worried about something? Or are you afraid of the dark? Or are you afraid you're going to pee yourself because your bladder is not working as it used to be? So all of these would be different flowers. So yeah, so I think that the takeaway from this is that the whole idea was to help you rebalance yourself in order to be able to bring change to your life so that you're not going back to unbalance again.
Okay, so with that being said, then my question is, so once you've treated what the issue is with the Bach flowers, does that mean that it's resolved permanently, or could it be reactivated from, say, you're in the same scenario that keeps causing the same issues? Is where I'm going with this. Like, is it a lifelong thing that you would be taking it, or do you understand what I'm saying?
So, unlike medication, which hide your symptoms, and so in order to continue hiding your feelings, you kind of have to keep going with the medication. The Bach flowers, it doesn't work that way because there's I would say, introspection that takes place and an awareness that you're gaining, at least with an actual good Bach practitioner. You gain an awareness of this emotion is caused by this situation. So let's say, for example, you have to go to court to defend yourself against a ticket. Well, that can awaken a series of emotions, but those events are not necessarily going to repeat themselves. So you can take temporarily the Bach flowers just to relieve yourself until the event happened, and then you don't have to deal with that anymore. It's not something that you do weekly. But let's say it's the policeman who's writing the tickets that has to go to work once a month to deal with all the people who contest his tickets. He could be feeling, being put on the spot, and that's going to be repeating every month for him. Yeah. So the idea is that you can take the Bach flowers while you're working on a solution. So while you're having the issue, you take the Bach flowers, and it helps you face the event that you need to face the meeting you need to go to. But eventually you have to ask yourself, how can I resolve my stress and my anxiety? Well, I need to be more confident. Okay, well, who with experience could help you? Could you write, like for me, when I do an intake with a client, I have everything written down so I won't forget a step, right? So what can I do to make this better? So it allows it to give you time to fix it so that eventually you don't need the flowers anymore because you found a solution.
Okay, because I was thinking, okay, so like say take grief, for example, which has many different stages, right? And there's no set rhyme or reason, there's the 5 stages of death and dying by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I always call it, should just be called the 5 stages of loss. And you see this when someone is grieving. Grief has no timetable, but there's anger, there's denial, there's depression, there's acceptance, there's a whole bunch of different stages, and you may think you've moved out of one, and then something completely innocuous happens, and it's like you go 5 steps backwards and you're angry again. So and I know this is a really complex thing, but a lot of people do go through so how could we work with you with something like that?
Well, first of all, hang on a second. The bottle that I prepare for people lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. Right? So it's not something that's good for 6 months to a year. And after 2 or 3 weeks, if you're still, like a grieving situation, it might extend, but you might, have different cycles. So we can meet again and say, so now how are you feeling? Have you handled, had someone recent, they had to get the death certificates, they had to mail them in, they had to close the bank account, right? So there was a completely different kind of emotion and stress that was associated to that. Now that was all done, they kind of find a quiet space, and then they were overwhelmed by their grief because it was the first time they actually had time to feel those. right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a completely different set of remedy because we're dealing with a completely different situation emotionally. At first, they just needed to go on. They needed energy. They needed courage. They needed focus. They needed to sleep better. And now they need to cry their eyes out, but they need to not fall into a depression and not be completely
Right.
overwhelmed. And in some cases, I don't know about most people, but I think I had 4 days off if someone close to me would pass away when I was working. Now, when my mom died at the beginning of the year, I gave myself a month, and that was not enough. Right? So if I had to go back to work after 4 days, I would have been so lost. How would I have been able to function on a day-to-day job and full hours, and while I'm still grieving this massive loss in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the remedies in this situation would assist you, keep you together, because unfortunately, not everybody can take a whole month off to grieve and go through the
Well, it
process.
sounds like it would be more of a long-standing treatment plan. Like I'll use myself, for example. I believe I was probably in a state of shock for the first 7.5 months after my son passed away. I had a dream. This is my room where I am right now. His room was across the hallway, and I remember it clearly. It was a very lucid dream. He walked in to the bedroom like he would have done every morning and started talking to me. And I said to him, what are you doing here, sweetheart? You're not supposed to be here. And I woke myself up from the dream. And then now it's like the grief has transitioned into sadness. I will not call it depression, but I think it was really just not even denial, just shock. And the thing is, right, grief is so personal and there is no timetable. Like for me, I jumped right back into work because for me, it was an escape for 2 hours, every day. And then the preparation involved when I'm doing it, that it gave me a break, if you will, not to have to think. But again, this is something that it sounds like it may be a longer standing thing, and going to say someone like a practitioner like yourself, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks coming and discussing where are we at now, because there isn't really anything that's going to fix those emotions, right? They need to be
That's right.
processed. You have to go through
That's
them.
right. And I mean that you, in this case, that you would use the back flowers, or that you would go to therapy, or that you do any other modality. It would be an extended time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I don't think that the back flowers would take any longer than any other's output that you're reaching to get through these emotions and these feelings. And again, as long as you go through the emotion, it doesn't really matter which modality you're going to use. The importance is that you go through the emotion. You just don't just shut down and bury yourself in your work and you avoid it all the time, because that's just a delaying time bomb, right? But yes, for these big situations, I would say that I would easily follow someone for 6 months.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, okay. Because I think that'll help a lot of people hearing that, because, at least most people I've talked to as of the last couple of years, a lot of us have lost, and I know yourself as well. Many of us have lost someone we love deeply. And again, I'm a big advocate for, and always have been, having worked in the death and dying field most of my adult life, is that there is no timetable, right? And then you think you're good. And I've run into so many people, they're feeling like a different type of, if you will, normal, and I hate to use that word, has kind of grown into their lives, if you will, with time. And then it's something so innocuous and it sets you right back. So it sounds like, that would be something that someone would work with you on a longer basis as needed.
As well, right? And then, it could be a smell, it could be a song, it could be you see someone in a crowd and you're like, what? And for a second you swear that was them, right? And it brings it all back. And so you can't, and I'm an end of life doula. So if we're going into that, that train of grief, particularly, that's the one thing I try to teach people. There's no checkpoint. There's no final date. That's not how it works. And I think that you come off the other side when you are able to recall um, the good times you had without it making you feel like a loss or sad, that you can say, oh yeah, with a fond memory and a laughter, right? You did this one, and you're able to laugh about it again.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that has said they have been completely healed from a death that is really profound, like somebody that was very profound in their life with that love. Yes, it can get to a point where you can function, but right, if it's, most of us, that's why it affects us as humans so deeply, I think, is it like, I'm going to tell you, losing a child is like ripping a hole in your soul that'll never heal. And I'm not trying to get sympathy or empathy here, but the same thing. And I'm so glad people are sharing this in the chat, because I think it's important. Like Judy, thank you for sharing, Judy. I'm going to highlight that. She says, oh, sorry, this silly thing, it's so transitional. She says, my dad passed away 2 years ago, and it wasn't until the 18-month mark that it really hit me. Like, and again, there was a series that was put out by the UK. It's probably going on almost 10 years ago now. And what it was talking about death and dying, and how as human beings, that's the one thing we don't talk about. And I'm not trying to be morbid here, but none of us are getting out of here alive. And talking about birth should be just as natural as talking about death. And we don't, right? Because we don't know. A lot of people, I feel that both of us working as a medium, we believe in, we know there is an afterlife. We know this. Definitely. But there's a lot of people that don't. So there's a lot of fear, right? And, when somebody is an integral part of your life, not even just a child, but somebody that you love that deeply. I don't know. They were showing, there was one part of the series where they were showing what grief is like, this big squiggly kinetic ball of energy. And then they were showing, as time goes on, a different, and I hate the word normal, but a different type of normal starts to grow around that ball. And maybe you can make it a little smaller with processing in the best way you can. And if you can't, yes, I agree, we need to reach out and look for help. But I don't think it ever goes away. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because, right, we're missing them. Now, I'm not talking about yourself or I, because we know that we can connect to the other side, but there's a lot of people that don't feel that. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've had to help someone with is that they felt pressure from their environment. It's been a year and a half. Yep. That's enough. Mm-hmm. Get over yourself. But then you have Judy that says it hit me at the 18 months mark, right? So why would anyone tell you that you've cried enough now? You can.
Nobody should ever tell somebody that. And I find it's usually people who have never experienced a profound loss. Or the other thing is, people get very uncomfortable because they don't know, if I say the person's name, I don't want to make you cry, and it gets awkward, right? People don't know what to say. Victoria shares here, Astrolight Paranormal, I lost both my parents only 10 weeks apart in 2014, and it's still a healing process. And I do want to express to anybody listening or watching live or on the replay, my deepest empathy and condolences if you've suffered a profound loss as well. Mm-hmm.
None of these losses are easy to go through, but you also don't just lose the person, you lose the rest of it, right? So for example, in that case, she was a young girl, he died in a car crash. Well, mm-hmm. She not only was grieving his death, she also had to grieve the fact that they were about to get married, and now she's not getting married, and they were planning on getting a family.
Future.
Yeah, so they were going to buy this house. They were going to have these children, and they were real things. It's not like we'll have children 10 years from now. They wanted to wait until they were married, and then we're going to start trying right away. So she's mourning the fact that she doesn't have a family. Right? So there's so much more than just the death of a person. Like for me, and I am a medium, and I know there's something in the afterlife. So I don't feel grief maybe in the same way that a lot of people do, right? Because I know there's something after. I know I'll see them again. The person I knew and loved didn't dissipate, right? They're still there. They're just not in the physical body anymore. So I can't hug them, and I can't I can't share a meal with them, but I'll eventually be with them again. But for me, what was weird is that I would not have anybody to talk about my childhood anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yeah.
still talk about my childhood, but nobody is left to share. They shared these experiences with me.
And support you in the way that they were when they were here physically.
And that really hit me for some reason. You know what I mean? And it's not that I lost my brother, I lost my grandpa, I lost my dad, I lost many people. But
me too. Many people. But when you have these profound, deep, and not that you didn't love the people. So I'm trying to get that clearly. I don't even know if I have the words to explain it. And then again, you almost feel like, because we do know there's an afterlife, we know we can communicate with our loved ones. But then I always add, you know what? Any of us, if you had to choose $1 million or having them back here physically, every one of us, I think, would say I'd rather have them back here physically, right?
Yeah. And but each grief also will be different. And I think that's very important, right? Because like we're saying the same thing. You're saying, well, a person that really mattered to you. Well, my dad also very mattered to me. But as opposed to another person, I had resolved my conflict with my dad. I was at peace with my dad. He, I had the time to say goodbye to him before he went, as opposed to losing someone in a car crash, completely unexpected, right? So we can't quantify it. We can't qualify it. The only thing that we can do is be supportive and be patient. And if they cry, don't tell them stop crying when it's okay. You tell them, yes, it hurts. Go ahead. When people, I guess they like having their grief around me, because I just sit there and I'm like, go ahead, cry. Mm-hmm. And then after, a bit, I said, do you need me to do anything? Would you like tea? Do you need more Kleenexes? And until they're ready to talk about it, I just create this space for them to be sad, to be doing the ugly cry. And
well, I think, and I've tried to teach both my boys, wasn't so easy with the youngest, but the eldest in particular, that when people are grieving, what happens is when they need, you always say when you go through crappy stuff, you sure know who your friends are. That's true. The other part is that when you need the people that support you and care about you, and you're a friend or someone who's going to be there for someone, is not, of course you want to be there when it happens. God forbid you want to be there when it happens. But what happens afterwards, and I had this happen to me, but a month after, well, you've had a month now, get back to work. Come on now, like I need this, I want this, I want this, I want this, right? And try and explain to people, my son just died, I need a little bit more time. Well, why? Well, it's been a month. But my point is, right, is what I wanted to teach him is, it's when you show up 6 months or a year after this has happened to somebody, that's when they need you, because everybody else's life goes back on with normal, right? That's when, and you know what, if you don't know what to say, just to be there. Or if you're close enough and you go to the person's house, maybe they needed some groceries picked up but didn't get out of the house, pick them up for them. Or maybe there's some dishes that be done. Say, hey, I'm going to make some tea, and while you're there, wash a few dishes. It's anything to help, and just being there, sitting with them, or giving them the opportunity to talk about their loved one. Because a lot of people, and I'm not saying, like, you and I understand a little bit more about this and we work with this, but a lot of people will not even say the loved one's name, because it's very uncomfortable for people when they start to cry, or, and I've talked to so many people, professionally, mainly, and personally, that it's almost like they feel like their loved one is forgotten because nobody wants to say their name, because it's
and I often see that in children. Because that's one thing that you don't put in my intro, that I don't know if you know this, but my specialty when I got out of university was children's psychology.
I you told me that. Yeah, I took some child psych in school too. Mm-hmm.
And so what I found is the kids will say, well, nobody talks about my brother anymore, right? And so because no one else talks about it, they feel like they're not allowed to talk about it. And so, but the kids have, it would make me feel better to talk about my brother or sister that I lost, right? So, but not everybody is going to reach the same place at the same time. And that's why I think it's so difficult with grief, is that it's so unique to the person living it and who they lost, that we can make suggestions, we can be supportive, but there's no perfect answer. And
There
and
isn't. Like
something
Mish. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, and I'll read Mish's comment.
some like someone would say, and it's a thing I've heard, well, at least they had a long life. Right?
Oh my God. Or even a pregnancy loss. Well, just be glad, you can get pregnant. You can always have another one. Like, people say the most, I'm telling you, and again, having worked in this field my whole life, as have you, I'm sure, with what you've done, you've seen lots of it, close to you, not close to you, in your line of work, everything else. And people just, they just, the things I said, I could write a book on the human condition of the things. And I just kept hearing from Spirit, hold space, give them the grace. Like, they're really trying here, not recognizing some of the things like a lot of things that people said were just like, I cannot believe it just came out of your typewriter. I mean, your keyboard or your mouth, right? It was mind blowing.
And yet they're trying their best, because
Exactly.
being so uncomfortable, we don't have a book on what is okay to say and what's not okay to say. So, you've heard your parents say, my condolences. So you're like, my condolences. But to me, that always felt so empty. It didn't feel like it came from my heart. Right. So, but that's me. Whereas my father was perfectly okay. He didn't want to get emotional. He didn't want people to trigger him. So my condolences, a handshake. Okay, keep moving. Don't trigger me. Right. So, but yeah, so we just need to be,
you got to just muddle through it. Yeah. And that's what Spirit, like I say, and I've said it a few times on the show, after my son Justin passed away, it was a couple of days later. And I remember saying to Spirit, I hate how I'm feeling. I hate this. It was such a foreign feeling. And I'd gone through many family members dying, like an uncle that was like a brother. Like, I could go on and on and on. And I said, I need a little help here. And the advice Spirit gave me was, first of all, to hold the space and have the grace for yourself that you would for anybody else going through this. And the only way through this is through this, meaning you have to feel the emotions, you have to process them. Some days there's going to be good days, days there's going to be bad days, and that's okay. Because, right, a lot of us don't give ourselves that grace. And like you said, or if you have to go back to work right away, or whatever that may be. And again, and again, I can only speak from raising children. I don't try to tell people how to be when somebody has passed away, but just being there, just the presence of just showing up. People say things like, I know how you feel. No, you don't know how I feel, right? And I'm not saying that from even just a personal perspective. Is one of the things we learned even as nurses when we were going through university. Never say to a patient, I know how you feel, because you don't know how somebody feels, right?
Yeah. And that's exactly what I said with the back flowers, right? You will feel the situation is the same. You put 5 people in the same room, they all lost their son. Well, but no one's going to feel the same. Some people are going to feel angry at the doctors because it was a surgical error, right? So you can't assume. And the best thing you can do is to be supportive and loving, and just hold that space for them. Not just give the space, but hold it for them, so that they know that they don't have to rush through it. They're feeling heard, and they might have to do that a few times, and it's okay.
So I'm going to read what Mish wrote here, and then Kevin. So Mish, wait, where did I lose that comment? Hang on. Hi, Mort. I did say hi. I don't know if you heard me. Thank you for being here, everyone. So Zisa Dragon or Kevin said, you do grieve just a little at a time, and it seems less impactful that way, which is also okay. Well, one of the things I never learned about as a healthcare professional, working in the field, is, and I happen to say it to a guest that's a good friend of mine that I've had on for years, even my previous network, was I have a phenomenal memory. And after my son died, couldn't remember a thing. And then it's still, if I get into really high stress situations, I'll start to lose my memory. I'm not getting Alzheimer's. But what they said to me was, oh, well, and I think they had said they had gone through a profound loss themselves, and they were speaking, I think, to either a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and they just said that's the brain's way of protecting you against all the flood of emotion, memories, everything. So it's just kind of keeps you in this little bubble of the now, if you will. And once it really resonated. I'm not doing it justice the way I'm sharing it, but it really made a lot of sense, and it helps.
Yes.
It really, really does. Mish is sharing something here I was going to share too. She said, we don't all live with the people we lose, which would be hard. We're someone we talk to every other day. You now have absence. Not sure if you understand. I believe I understand what you're saying. Do you too, Sonya? Like,
well, I guess if you live with someone every day, you will notice their absence immediately. Well, and Mish, correct me if I'm wrong. And then you're saying that if you weren't living with them and you didn't see them every day,
but you talk to them every other day. It sounds like you talk to them still every other day, so you really feel that absence.
Yes. So, like my mom was in Quebec and I was here, so every Tuesday we talked on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
It was the time that I would block off, and we'd be on the phone every Tuesday. Well, took a few months of going today is Tuesday. Today I'd be talking and having to deal with I want to tell somebody, and I would have told her, but now who do I tell?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It wasn't important. I think it was important, so it's also finding a new support system.
Okay, that's why I said normal. That's the word they used in that series. Like they even examined like the Irish wake, and the way it was, like I said, it was over in the UK, but what it really signified versus what people may think it meant, and having this conversation about death. But what you're saying right there, right? Like you still want to be able to have that connection and that conversation, and you had that special time between you and your mom, right? And you really, really feel that absence because, yeah, you had that special time blocked off, right? So Kevin is saying, yes, I'm sorry for your loss, or my condolences is what we are conditioned to say. I say I'm very sorry for, or speak of a memory I have of them. Maybe it's true. Everyone feels differently. Yes. And we just lost our neighbors. All of us are very close, and 2 doors away, they were sisters and like twins. They weren't twins, but they were that close. And the one sister collapsed in October and was gone December 19th. So they were dealing with that, and they loved my son. Just everybody in the neighborhood did just as we love them. And they're at a different stage, very, very, very angry, right? So like I say, there's no set rhyme or reason why, right? And that's what always reminds me too, that if you run into somebody that's being really miserable to you, for example, or a store clerk, or I always try to hold that space and again give them I say the grace, I guess, that I don't know what's happening or going on in their life, right?
Yeah,
Maybe they've lost someone, had to go to work right away, or whatever that means. Mm-hmm.
And also, when because based on I'm just thinking of what you say, Kevin, but I see Sun's dragon. But he says
I called his muggle name. I said that, yeah, Sun Dragon, but it's Kevin. You call whatever you want. One of those. Sorry, Kevin, not whatever we want.
So the benefit of having, let's say, someone like an end-of-life doula accompanying you, even if because people think that end-of-life doula is just with you once you get cancer and you're dying in 6 months. But in some cases, it could be, even though it was a sudden death, you can help the people. So one of the things that we did is that we asked everybody coming to the celebration of life to bring a picture of the person and themselves with a story, and we put that in a memory book or a picture book, if you will. And so after, they were able to go through these stories and maybe find things they didn't know about the person that they love very much and was very dear to their heart. And it helps some people be a bit more at ease coming to the celebration of life, because some people are very awkward. So giving them something to prepare with or something to do when they get there helped the process, right? So sometimes having someone to accompany you, help you with that, is also nice.
It is nice. So when I was working in palliative care in the home, we didn't have death doulas at that time, but that was kind of our role, right? Like a lot of times I would have a patient that got diagnosed with something terminal. It's not always cancer. So not only were you supporting your patient, but you're also supporting the family, right? And through the illness, and then a lot of the patients would choose to pass at home. So like, if I got a phone call at 3 a.m, I'd go out and be there with the family. And then again, that typically would be the end of my role, but I'd still try to stay in touch. Like you'd go to a memorial service or, and again, it's not that I had trouble letting go. It's just the family gets to know you and you know them and you've developed this relationship. So it's not forever, but best to be able to support them in the aftermath of what's happened, right?
Exactly. So Kevin's on the ball tonight.
They all are. We have the best audience. So you want to read it, Sonya? You're welcome to, and he added a little bit in the bottom.
You don't feel so alone in your memories when others share what impact your loved one had on their life, and that's a bit of the alone in your And so I think that's a bit of the idea behind the activity I proposed, right? So knowing that it gives meaning to the life of your loved one. They had a huge impact in other people's life as well, so other people will miss them, and maybe that creates a connection that after the original funeral, burying and all that, when you actually have time to maybe feel grief, then you can call up someone and say, I just read your story, and it gives them a place to communicate, share from a positive point of view, and maybe they'll end up crying, which is okay, but it makes you want to reach out and not isolate yourself completely and not go through things, right?
On your own, feeling so alone, right? Feeling so alone.
Exactly.
I guess I should do, you guys who let me talk and talk. I usually have reminders. We should do our station ID. So do it at the top of the hour. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening live to one UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. And this is the Angel Rock, and I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. And I am here with my good friend, Sonya Roy, a fellow Canadian, but she's been on the Angel Rock numerous times. And you can listen to us on 105.3 FM in U.S. on the Gulf Coast and Mississippi, 107.7 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we started off with a conversation about Bach flower remedies. And if you don't know what those are, please go back to the beginning of the show if you're watching this on the replay or you're just jumping in now, because there was a lot of valuable information I think that you've shared, Sonya, as well as what people shared in the chat. And then we kind of morphed into a discussion about death and dying and grief, because like I say, and I don't mean to be morbid and I'm not being disrespectful or sarcastic, but none of us are getting out of here alive. We're not.
And I think that being able to talk about it should, I think, demystify it, take the fear out of it. It's not because you talk about getting pregnant that you get pregnant, right? So it's not because you're talking about dying or death that you're going to die.
No, but still, there's a lot of people, even if you can try and demystify it. I think we started the conversation at the beginning was there's some skepticism about what we do. And there are a lot of people that, even though I can tell you from working with families that were terrified to pass. It didn't matter how many conversations we had. And, then we'd have palliative care, also workers that would come in, you'd have a whole team working with the person and just absolutely terrified of leaving this earth. It didn't matter what I could have shared or anybody else, right? And there are no givens or guarantees. One of the things I found that sometimes helped, getting to know the person I was working with, if they would be open to hearing about near-death experiences, because I think that gives us a glimpse of what awaits us, don't you?
Yes. And don't forget to mention it's Carnation Monday tonight.
Oh, sorry. Repeat. I'm reading Mish's comment. Sorry, what was the last part? Sorry.
I said it's Carnation Monday.
Yes, it's Carnation Monday. Yes, yes. No, I'm reading Mish going, yes, I do talk fast. Lorilei talks quick. My kettle doesn't boil that fast. And then Mish is sharing, when my mom passed, I don't know why, but would say, well, we're all going to end up that way unless you're a vampire. Even then, the stakes are high. Guess what movie I watched last night, you guys? So I went to my eldest son. I had two boys. So my eldest son does drag part-time. And we had something like Comic-Con here on the weekend, but it's called ThunderCon because I live in Thunder Bay. So there was a drag. Okay. So I went to it and to support my son. And on one of the breaks, he says to me, Mom, have you watched K-pop Demon Hunters?
Oh, yes. I love that show. It was so
great. Okay. So I said, and I don't think he thought I would know. And I said, it's on my list. So I watched it on the weekend, hooked on the soundtrack from the music from it. It's amazing. So I was watching that and had a great time watching it. And then I went, I'm going to watch Underworld. I haven't watched that in a long time. The war between the Lycans and the vampires. And now Mish is talking about if you're a vampire, even then the stakes are high. Well, we're kind of getting into spooky month. So
yes, it is. Yeah, it's around the corner. Definitely. So I'm curious. We talk a lot, and they comment on what we're saying, but do they have any questions that they would like to squeeze in there and ask us? And I'm open to just about anything. So the Bach or the medium or the end of life doula or, energy, anything. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. So anything that's appropriate. Nothing in my audience wouldn't do that, but still, gotta put that in there. Just like I said, you can call Kevin whatever, and then I heard, no, you can't call him whatever. It's either Z-Sun Dragon or Kevin. So I'm glad you thought of that. I don't know what Mish says, but I thought it was funny. No, you're not a weirdo. No, you're not. You fit in perfectly here with all of us. None of us are weird. We're unique.
I like that. I usually tell people you can't surprise me. There's nothing you're gonna say that's weirder than whatever.
That's what I usually say to people when they go, "Oh my God, like you're gonna think I'm crazy when I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna tell you," and I always say, "Try me."
Right? I'm not going to talk at this point. Just go ahead. Okay.
So, well, while we're waiting for some, Victoria says that's definitely something my parents would have said too, Mish. So she's talking about her comment. So do you guys have any questions about anything like that? Feel free to put them in the chat. You guys know you're always welcome to leave them. But I guess today's the first official day of autumn, is it not?
But yesterday, maybe 21st?
I wasn't sure because sometimes I've heard it was the 23rd of September. And my ex-mother-in-law, that was her birthday. And then today, I kept hearing people say, today is the first official day of fall. I guess it would be spring in Australia, right, Mish? Or did the dates change slightly? I doubt they do, but I shouldn't assume that. But so I don't know. And every other season change, like summer, isn't it June? Is it
23rd.
June 23rd? Okay.
21st.
And then
it's always June.
Yeah.
It's why unless it's changed, but it used to be always on the 21st. So it's March 21st, June 21st, September 21st, and December 21st.
Okay.
And those are usually lining up with the Celtic calendar or the Wiccan calendar or the Druidic calendar, which have the equinox and the what's the other one? There's equinox and
Astrolight Paranormal Victoria says yes, it's Mabon fall equinox today. Mish is saying in Australia, and I've heard the days seem to shift depending on who you talk to. I swear, so in Australia today, the 23rd, it's spring. And Mish said, suddenly it feels warmer. LOL.
So yeah, and then you have all leaves on November 1st, and you have February 1st, May 1st, and so but originally back in the day, it was the 1st and the 21st.
Yes, that's what I thought too. And then all of a sudden it seems like the days shift, right? So I don't know. We're heading into a new season. I put my fall my fall wreath up today and some of my fall stuff. Yes, I figured it was time. So I didn't do my usual really, really big fairy garden this year. I just did a little one. So I thought, and I'm not really in the mood for Christmas this year, but I'm going to do it. So I'm working on Christmas stuff already, Halloween stuff.
I get some big news.
Oh, what's that?
I'm getting a grandchild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Congrats. You guys, we didn't have time to talk before we usually do. And so, oh my gosh, congratulations. When does the little one come?
Well, she says he's due November 20th, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be November 21st, 22nd. But so I'm actually going to be in Quebec, and I'm going to be playing baby until December 16th. So when I come home, I don't know if we'll have Christmas, because I'm gonna arrive in December 16th, and I might be a little late to start decorating or whatever. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm so excited. I'm so
excited. Do you know what they're having?
A boy. Which I called it.
Yes, I knew you would. And you're going to be right around the date too. Okay, now my dog is coming as we're talking about a baby. No, I'm not pregnant.
But it was very interesting because I'm already having dreams about him.
Okay, go ahead.
I already see him coming, pop into the house, and and I always said I don't want to be called grandma, and he's like, Mama, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's what he's gonna call me. But at this point, I don't care what he's gonna call me, because I'm gonna be so happy that we're gonna spend time together.
Oh,
so I'm over the moon, and he was planned, we was prepared, right? So he's growing up, even in the oven, full of love and appreciation.
Aww, that my eldest was like that. I was always told both were. My youngest was a very wonderful surprise, but my eldest, I went through infertility. I went through all kinds of stuff. He knows the story. And then I kept that. Back in the day, they had this diary book out there you could buy and put your thoughts. And I gave it to my son, still has the biggest giggle. And then with my two boys, I knew always, like I was having Spirit told me when I was a little girl I was going to have 3 boys, and when I was turning 50, I had a miscarriage, believe it or not, but and I knew their names. So my eldest, he won't mind me saying his first name is Logan, but Spirit always told me I was going to have a little boy named Jordan, a little boy named Justin, and another one named Jared. Don't ask me why, because Jared isn't a name I would have picked. So I wanted to call Logan Jordan, and my husband at the time said absolutely not. So he's named after Wolverine from X-Men. It wasn't a popular name at that time, but when I was pregnant and I had so many ultrasounds, my dad and I used to go out Christmas shopping for my mother. Her birthday's the 15th. There's Christmas, and their anniversary is New Year's Eve. So we were out. My father insisted I was having a little girl. And I kept telling him, Dad, I'm telling you, I've had many ultrasounds. I already know it's a boy even before I've had them. So I was only a couple months pregnant. And in the kiosks in the mall around Christmas, there was somebody twisting gold wire into names. So you had my name, and then he pinned it on my tummy, and he dreamed I was having a little girl named Jillian. I didn't have a Jillian. My son, Logan, still has that pin now. It's a great story. And with the second one, my ex-husband's father insisted I was having a girl. Emma was going to be her name. Well, we had Justin.
You know what? They told me the name. He's going to be called Charles Addison. And then I called him back and said, okay, we need to add an extra name in there. Numerologically, it's not working. He's going to have a debt, karmic debt. We don't want that. So pick another name or add a third name in there. But yeah. So they're like,
I like that name. That's very regal, Charles Addison. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm like, no, numerologically, there's no way. Now that I know this stuff, that I'm gonna let my grandson be born with a karmic debt. That's not
Okay.
happening. We're going to fix that.
Fix his
So,
name.
well,
Okay.
they decided they both have hyphenated names.
Okay.
Right. So my son's last name is Roy Labelle, and her name is Lavoie-Serna. So they're like, so I said, what's going to be the last name? They're like, well, our last name. I said, are you guys insane? The poor kid's going to fill out a form. He's going to need an addendum to try and put 4 names. I said, it's ridiculous. I said, you got to pick one of each at least, you know, but you can't have the 4 poor, you know, and it's starting to happen now, right?
Well, my name was hyphenated, and my family doctor at the time when I had Logan, he goes, are you hyphenating his name too? He goes, God, this is just what you said. And I said, no. So I was never, ever went by, I've never changed my name back either. My maiden name is Potvin, and then it's McIver is my married name. So I always went by Potvin McIver, and my kids are McIver. So I hear what you're saying, because it can get quite long. All these people are congratulating you. Like, congratulations, Sonya. I'm a grandma. Mish says I'm called Yaya. And
I like Yaya.
Yeah. Well, you know, Carrie Lynn is a grandma. And I don't think she'll mind me, because I think she's mentioned it before. Her granddaughter calls her Queenie. I think that's so cute.
But you know what? Whatever he calls me, I don't care, because we have so much fun in my dreams, and we're so well connected and so close. Yeah. I'm gonna go with whatever.
That's what happens with a lot of kids. You know, they pick the name. Like, you may think this is what you want to be called, and the child starts calling you something. It just happens, right? And Kevin says, always was the 21st, like Sonya said, about the season changes. But I noticed lately, the past few years, it seems to depend on the day it falls, quote unquote, on LOL. But you're right, Kev, because I've noticed the same. Like, it seems to switch always. So let's see. Mort is saying suggestions on opening up to receive messages from a past family member. And then he's saying congratulations. So are you asking Mort what might help to open up to receive messages? I think that's what he's asking. And Kevin says, congrats.
Thank you.
On the oven dinging early anticipations. So Mort, you're asking, I'm guessing, suggestions on how to connect with a past family member? Because if that's what you're asking, I believe we all have intuitive abilities. And I believe all children, especially when they're young, they can see and they can communicate with spirit, just like animals. So I think that if it's something you really, really want, you have to work on it. But one of the things I always suggest is to make sure that you're very grounded, that your mood is, or basically vibration you'll hear in this field that we're in, is at the highest you can get it. So, and especially if you're grieving, it can be a little difficult. But I always say to people, you know what, everybody has a movie that we always find funny. Like, there's always a movie, you know what, like for me to watch Step Brothers over and over again, or there's another movie called Slammin' Salmon that my mother-in-law bought. I don't know where, I don't know how I never saw this movie. And every time we watch it, we are like in hysterics. It is so funny. So, right, that kind of helps to lighten the mood. I don't know. What else can you add, Sonya? If there's anything else to help, maybe more. A picture sometimes can help you to connect and see, setting the intention before you go to bed at night, and asking, because sometimes it's easier to have those conversations in the dream state because we're more wide open. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think there's also the fact that sometimes we brush off them communicating with us or reaching out to us.
Yes.
Right. So if you smell grandma's cookies, or if you smell Uncle George pipe, or you're not just smelling them. That's their way of letting them know I'm here. Right. Now, communication, you can say to them what you need to say. They can hear you.
Absolutely. Right? I tell people that all the time. You don't need me to tell them. They know, they hear you.
Exactly. Right. So it's more about, and I guess when you talk about communication, there's you talking, someone's listening, and someone's answering. So you can say everything you need to say, they will hear you. It's literally, because they're no longer in the physical dimension, it's you think about them and it rings a phone line directly to them. And whatever you're thinking, feeling, saying gets sent to them. So that's wonderful. And they can make their presence felt. Now, to hear an actual message, it depends. I just taught a mediumship class this weekend, so it's funny. But some people will feel, right? So they'll feel when I was young, I could feel my grandmother hugging me. I could feel the warmth filling me up. Some people will hear actual talking. They'll hear words, right? Some people will see, but there won't be any message attached. But they'll see them in all this glowy light and looking all warm and fuzzy, right? So it just depends how you get your messages, I guess. One
It's
time.
a shock for me, I'm going to add, because mediumship came in later for me. And I'm so clairaudient, which means I hear a spirit. I don't hear voices for people. I call it within the mind's eye space. Okay. But with mediumship, it shocked me because you speak English and French. I speak some French and English, and I used to speak all three Spanish as well, like English when I was a teenager. That's what it feels like for me with mediumship, because sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's a smell, sometimes it's just if I don't even know how to put words to it, like you could feel the color, if you will. Sometimes you'll hear it, sometimes you'll see it. Like it's almost like going to a different country every time. So what I've trained myself to do, which may help others, is when you're trying to communicate, right? And you were 100% correct. They already hear us, they already know us, nothing is unsaid. And they're coming from nothing but a place of love. But for ourselves, check in with all your senses when you're doing this. What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you taste? And I found that really, really helped me a lot. Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, on the weekend, it was interesting because one of my students, she was trying to dismiss what she was feeling in her body. She was thinking that was a distraction. I'm like, no, that's part of the reading. So you can't brush it off. On the contrary, you have to really tap into it and try to make sense of, well, what are you feeling? What's happening, right? And I always thought that if an airplane goes above the house at that one time and you hear it, it's part of the reading, right? So, but we need to be aware and we need to pay attention. Most people, they miss the messages because they're just not present. They're not grounded. They're not paying attention.
Can I just answer this, Justin? Retro Stuff TV show. Thank you very much for popping in. This is not a panel. This is a podcast. And we certainly welcome people's comments or conversation as long as you stay within, be polite. We have a wonderful audience here. They're very welcoming to new people, but we don't just have people pop in. So, but thank you for asking. No, I agree with you as well. And I think that's an important part too, to pay attention what's going on around you, because I'm telling you, and in the beginning, it's kind of hard if it's all coming in at once, if you're not used to it. So you can even ask the person you're connecting with, you can ask for your own team. Hey, I need that a little slower or one at a time. Actually, I heard a super cool reel today. And the lady's name is Anti-Matrix, I think. And she tells scary ghost stories and strange and weird. And she also does a lot of light worker stuff. She's on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. Okay. So she goes, one woman, she's telling this story and she has a video clip of it. This woman drives a bus to go pick up people in wheelchairs and bring them from one place to another. So she was really excited. She went to work and she goes, oh, one of my favorite people's coming. So they stopped by her house and she said right away, I could feel it. And like, this woman does not work as a psychic medium or anything. She goes, there was something really, really, really wrong. I could feel the difference in her energy and what have you. They had to go pick up another person to another lady. And then I guess the two ladies in the wheelchairs got talking, and the woman who was, we'll call her Mary's favorite client in the wheelchair, she said to the other lady in the wheelchair, yeah, actually, my son passed away very unexpectedly about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm not doing well with this. I never ever thought he would pass away before myself. So Mary, who's driving the vehicle, is thinking to herself, oh, that explains why I was feeling and seeing this. And she says, as she's driving, she said, I've never had this happen. She heard this voice say, hey, can you deliver a message to my mom? And at first she kept ignoring it. And he goes,
I still feel it go away.
deliver a message to my mom. So she's not talking out loud. And she goes, okay. He goes, tell her to check the shoe boxes. There's money in it. And she's thinking as she's driving, they drop off the other lady. She's going, I can't just say this to this lady. I don't know her that well. And she goes, all right. She's making a deal with whatever she's hearing in her mind. If I'm meant to tell her before we get to the destination, I need to see the word shoebox. So she's driving along. She's right before the mall where she's dropping her off. She looks to the right. There's a big blue bin. And I think it had the word shoe on it. She goes, that's not good enough. Doesn't say shoebox. She looks to the left of her and there's something else that says box, right? Like she goes, okay. And she goes, I felt like an idiot because I've never had this happen. So she says to the lady, this is going to sound completely crazy, but your son wants you to check in his shoe boxes. There's money in there. The lady then thanks her profusely, says her son has a ton of shoe boxes because he used to love shoes. And then she says, actually, my mother, when she passed away, I was going through her things and I found this hidden envelope with my name on it. There was tons of money in it. So she was meant to deliver that message. She said it never happened before and it hasn't happened since. But here she did. She listened to spirit. Well, he wasn't letting up, it sounds like.
Yeah, you can hear me. You're screwed. The minute they know, right? I remember that. What was it? The Medium TV show? She was trying to pretend she didn't see them, and then something would do something, and they're like, oh, she didn't see us. And then,
yeah.
Yeah, once they know, man, try to get it away. Good luck. They're not going to give up. I had, I guess he was a cousin, but he died like 30 years before I was born, right?
Oh, wow.
I was an oops baby. So, most of my cousins had kids older than me. So, and so he shows up and he's like, yeah, I need you to tell my sister this. And I'm like, yeah, dude, how am I going to do that? Right, because they're so much older than me. I'm not close to them. It's not like I call them up and shut them up, right? So it would be weird just to begin with, just to give them a call, right? Because they're more my sister age than mine. So I really pondered this and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to tell her I had a dream. So that will, rather than I heard a voice in my head.
Yes, exactly.
I'm thinking the pill will swallow a little easier if I say I had a dream last night. So I called her up and I said, hey, and she's like, hello. And I said, I'm calling you because, I had a dream about your actual brother and your mom. And, this is what was going on in my dream. And this is what they said. And she's like, oh, that's so cool. And it actually related with something that was happening in your life right now. And I kept that. And everybody's welcome to use that one as much as they want. So now, whenever I have a message, I'm like, and I'm not close to the person or whatever, I'm just like, no problem. I had a dream last night. Guess what? You popped up and we're having this conversation.
This is what happened. Well, we are almost out of time. This happens all the time. Like I say, we were a little bit late with the technical stuff. And Sonya goes, what are we going to talk about? I go, Sonya, we are never at a loss for words. So how can people get a hold of you? How can they book, coming to you? Have many healing modalities, you guys. I've had a healing session with you as well that was very life-changing. You've got all kinds of things going on. How can they get a hold of you? Are you doing sessions? What are you doing? Just let people know, and then I'll let people know what's coming up next.
Okay. Well, my big thing that's happening is this weekend, September 27, 28. We're having this massive annual spiritual and metaphysical fair that we're putting together in Drumheller, Alberta, Canada. So if you're in the area, it's we have 14 different speakers, so conferences. And the idea of the conferences, they're not like infomercial. They're really about teaching you, informing you. So it's really, really nice. So we have that going on this weekend. And you can find all the information about my healing sessions, my classes, and these activities that I do in my website, sonyaroy.com. So that's easy enough. And I will be back east because of the baby in October, November, and mid-December. And so I'll be teaching and doing conferences in the East Coast as well during
I got to add something. Remember, you were going to book to come back on December, and I told you, no, let's switch it to the new year. Good thing we did, because I think you would have been in Quebec when the date was that you had picked. I'm getting goosebumps. So everybody, Love you all. Stay tuned. Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron are coming up next with the Light Gate. Don't forget about Sonya's books too. They're all on her website. She has so many incredible books, you guys. On top of that, what else was I going to tell you? Carrie Lynn and I are going to be back on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, beneath the hollow moon. We are going to be talking about
great show. I love it. I watch it.
Ranch, all the high
but I love it.
I don't know what we're dressing up as, but you guys know we do it almost every week. We dress up, so we're going to surprise you. Next week, I will be back. My God, why do I always forget to check and see who's coming on next week for you guys? If you ever want to get a hold of me right now, I am going to be going to a domain name as soon as we get our course out, Leanne and we are working on it weekly. So it's coming, you guys, our first once a week, longer standing course. You'll hear more about it as it comes, but you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/The Angel Rock or any social media platform under Lorilei Potvin or The Angel Rock. I do psychic mediumship. I do energy healing. I do crystal Reiki. I do Akashic records. I do teaching and mentoring. All those things you can get a hold of me on those for. Hang on. And I've got 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, Angel Rocker Tribe for more things spiritual. Oh gosh, I'm so glad I checked to see who's coming on next week. You guys, fellow UPRN host, first time on my show, Kat Ward from Paranormal Heart. Her show, I believe, is on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. I can't wait. Love you all. Have a good one. Stay tuned for Dolly and Preston next, you guys, and we'll see you on Thursday. Oh, hang on. Why have we got an outro on here? Oh, somebody put an outro on here already. My goodness.